So apparently, ByuN's gonna drop some F to pay respects. I'm not sure if that's for himself or if that's for MaxPax. He's like, F, MaxPax is like, question mark, and ByuN's like, I'm just respecting your death in this series. In the top right, Blue Protoss player from Storm Gaming, MaxPax. Reverse sweeping his opponent in the previous round, the red Terran player from the Shopify Rebellion. It is ByuN, and that previous opponent was, of course, Dark. So, yeah, fair to say, pretty cool performance from him to get us through to this one here today. Interestingly enough, ByuN dropped down to the lower bracket very early on as well. He dropped down early against Skillus. Went on a bit of a streak since then against Demaga, Cyan, Nightmare, Cham, then revenge on Skillus in a 5-game series, and then finally ended up against Dark, which we just saw him win out in, and now he goes up against MaxPax here to take on this next little bit of action. Engineering Bay block to start as the probe has not sighted that coming across the map at the moment as well. So yeah. Yeah, I guess all of these matches fresh in the tournament. I was wondering if either of these guys kind of played at an earlier point in this event, but not the case. The only potential we have for a rematch today would actually be if MaxPax wins this and plays Solar in the finals. They did play in the winner bracket final as well, which obviously Solar did win out in. But obviously MaxPax ByuN is usually an up-in-the-air matchup as well, right? Like, this is not a series which is kind of guaranteed or, you know, set in stone. This run really does go either way. I wonder what the actual history is. In fact, I'm going to look up what the actual history is, but if I had to guess, it would be like kind of 50-50. I feel like these two kind of beat each other a lot, as ByuN cancels the engineering bay as he sees the third base go up over on the left-hand side, and ByuN is going to continue into the factory and so on for himself as well before taking his own expansion. Let me just do some ByuN MaxPax research, guys. All-time 26-24 in series in favor of ByuN, who is 98-85 in maps, so that's something. But actually, MaxPax has won the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times they've played. Okay, wow, so that is actually a bit of a fun history to check up on. Glad we checked those numbers out. That's actually very interesting. Let's see if MaxPax can keep that winning streak alive then against ByuN, or if ByuN is just gonna say no. Nobody beats ByuN 6 times in a row. Adept comes through, gonna start fighting against an initial SCV. Now the Marine will go down. A couple of Hellions out the reactor, though. Going to be good to push that Adept back without any further issues. So that will go down now. There's not going to be any problems there at all. As a couple of Hellions continue through, and Adept just trying to figure out where exactly it's going to go. Phoenix is on the way up. The Warp Gate is coming in just for the moment as well. So just getting all of that coming through here. And yeah, a couple of probes coming out. CC dropping down. Refinery in the main base. Going to finish up. And I get one more barrack started in this main as well. So it's going to be 2 racks on the way out for the moment here. Two racks and a factory all coming through. Do you see a few Hellions actually diving across the map? It's a Stargate opening from MaxPax. Phoenix are out. The Hellions, well, probably not going to do too much in the end. Maybe 1 kill. As the battery does some good job healing up so far. The Phoenix do not have further lift energy. The battery actually has to overcharge, which at least is something for ByuN, because it doesn't really feel like he gets too much else out of this. The Hellions are going to try and make a getaway. Okay, well, he lost 2 Hellions. He forced an overcharge. I feel like I hate it less than I should do, you know? It feels like this really wasn't meant to be much of anything, and it actually turned into something that was kind of alright, maybe, possibly. The Hellions are still diving around. 1 more Phoenix left. I guess you have forced the Phoenix to use all of their energy as well. So you do take that out of the equation. Obviously, energy, you know, comes back over time, but the earlier in the game that energy is used, the more likely maybe it would have been good elsewhere, right? Things continue back down to the south. A couple of Cyclones going to pop through, lock onto both Phoenix immediately. Push those back into the center. Now Phoenix still coming over, so a few of these Phoenix together going to come by and see what we can do. Robo Facility coming up. Immortal is on the way out. The Cyclones lock on again. Phoenix already taking some shots from that. Going to get turned back around. So Phoenix go back around this left-hand side. Going to move into the main base where they are going to aim for a few of these SCVs. First SCV already dropping down dead. Cyclones just locking on. Our Phoenix are going to go and take some shots. Obviously, as ByuN comes across the map, really is getting a bit of pressure coming across this side. Just going to be seeing the Cyclones locking on again, and, well, batteries draining a little bit of their initial energy. Is this enough to really force a fight? I mean, 3 Cyclones can do a lot. Feels like the Immortal hasn't really found much at all just yet, but of course, remember the Phoenix as well can take a bunch of units out of the equation quickly, then you force a target fire the Phoenix, and then maybe by then the ground army is just doing enough from MaxPax. It's a very technical fight between these kind of early game kind of Marine Cyclone forces versus kind of early game Gateway Phoenix forces. It feels like they can really go either way at like the flick of a switch, and that switch sometimes being a successful what's it called? Graviton beam? Yes, I was going to say Graviton catapult. That's not the one. Graviton beam. Phoenix lift going well or not. If the SCVs will go down, well, if you're going to have the Phoenix over here, I think this army's going to commit, and I don't think MaxPax expected this. I feel like MaxPax was expecting this army to be kind of long gone from this side of the map. Super Battery activates, it's not enough to deal with the stimmed bio. Both Immortals will go down. A Colossus pops, though. Probably a little bit too much for ByuN to continue attacking into, so he will turn and run. 2 Immortals die, you've lost 6 SCVs. Fine, kind of hard to weigh it up, right? The economy is obviously in a pretty good place for MaxPax. But then ByuN did take away a couple of the more important units, although a Colossus is pretty important as well, and that one obviously is very much so alive here. Cyclone just locks on. Going to be seeing 1 Phoenix just gets taken out, so we're going to knock that out the way already. So the barracks is going to drop down. Just going to be seeing our Twilight and our Forge still building up. Some thermal lance coming through. The Colossus is still on the way out. And our Phoenix still chilling. Over in the center for the moment as well. Twilight Forge obviously coming through too. So one thing we are missing is upgrades in general, right? This is a pretty quick move to Colossi beyond the Phoenix. So we don't have Blink, we don't have Charge, we don't have any +1 upgrades either. Those are things which you're missing as MaxPax, which generally you are going to want at some part of this. Third CC on the bottom side, finishing up shortly. Post Academy still coming through from ByuN. We do have our Phoenix moving around in the center, Charge, +1, etc. All still coming up. The Prism's about halfway done. A couple of gates are building. And our Temple Archives will build in the main base as well here. So we got that Temple Archive started up. Over in this main base. That's going to be the next step from MaxPax, already looking toward further tech to add into his army here. Beyond just those Colossi. Usually when you have Colossi up, you just go Disruptors at first, but MaxPax's going to prioritize the Temple Archives. We'll see if he just wants to go quickly into Storm, or what exactly his plan may be over this next little while. If MaxPax comes around to the right side, still seeing a couple of High Templars getting warped in, +1 attack, and charges all coming up. It's just going to be those Halcons for the moment then. Outside is still coming through, going to get a little bit of a shot or two off. Nothing too major just yet though. We have Zealots already set up on the left side. ByuN is scanning around. He knows that Terrestian is going to be coming his way as MaxPax looks to attack in on the front. Also has the warping into the main base. And again, these Zealots can hit the natural, so ByuN has to defend everywhere all at once. Let's see how well he does with that. It's going to be seeing 11 SCVs going down now. ByuN's going to spread out and try and fight back on this right-hand side. We grab an EMP to help against the Archons. First Colossus down. Marauders are stimming ahead to get rid of the other Colossi. I mean, let's ignore the fact that ByuN's natural and main base are having a terrible time, but he is kind of winning out on this fight. A lot more Zealots in the main base. Zealots also making their way over here as well, so this definitely is not looking brilliant to say the least, and a lot of SCVs really are dying, and I think ByuN, it's going to be difficult to overcome that amount of damage. The only way I can see this really working out, perhaps, I think the only way that this really works out in this way, or in this regard, for ByuN is some kind of counterattack where honestly his army supply is pretty big, and he obviously not just killed a lot of the tech units there, he also killed off a lot of zealots, which is a lot of the warping potential that you have for a while as MaxPax. So he has to rebuild his army really from the ground up. So if maybe ByuN can get across the map, he still has his ghosts in the army as well, for example. That's why I see him having a chance, but lingering around back at home, I really feel like this is a pretty rough situation. You're down 30 works. I don't think ByuN has any intentions of staying here. I don't think he has any intentions of playing a macro game. He starts a few more SCVs now, but he wasn't building those straight away initially. Let's do attack, blink, both on the way out as we do see the army moving around this right side. Cyclone gets a lock on, Probe will be killed. Moving up this ramp, EMPs go down. Archon's going to take a bit of a beating. Both Archons going down immediately. Well, those EMPs were fantastic, and now we're diving for the Colossi with the super batteries, putting in some work, keeping the Colossi alive. A few probes going down, the SCV start to drop as the Zealots are back in the natural expansion of our Terran player. We Doom drop into the main base of the Protoss. Who cares? If the man had Phoenix once upon a time, they are all gone now. No way to really stop this from happening super easily, so into the main base we go. We're going to see the Colossi moving forward. That's a chance to dive, and ByuN will kill another. He's still dealing with the Zealots on the other side pretty aptly, honestly. Way better than I thought he would. Kills the Templar Archives as we're messing around here. Now just going to lift up, get out. No blink, so we can't blink on top and capitalize on that lift up as MaxPax. Now ByuN finds his way over to this right side base, and that's going to be a cancel again. More SCVs fell. His economy is not in a great spot. Still only 40 workers in this game for our Terran, but he is trying to make the moves with the army to do everything possible. He scans to check the top left. As he sees it isn't there, he knows he doesn't have to worry about that position. He can continue to really focus on harassing around the right side of the map instead. Is MaxPax going to start getting a hands up on this, though, a leg up on this, because it feels like now he was going to be in position and knew kind of what game ByuN was playing, but Stalkers were not quite there. They were down over here. ByuN comes in over here. The Stalkers only just now get their blink upgrades, so that's why ByuN was able to make this a success. He gets a few probes. I don't know if probes are really kind of the be-all and end-all for ByuN, as he will lose one full medevac, but just the one. Yeah, I'm not sure if probes are the be-all and end-all, because obviously this is really a game where I don't know if it lasts long enough for the work account to be that impactful, but I guess in the grand scheme of things, it still does help, and for the moment, we'll take any help we can get if you are a ByuN fan. Definitely not being easy going. There's a few Zealots show up in the main base yet again. Prism just sits in the corner, warping in, and force this entire Terran army to turn around and come back home. Deal with this and try and minimize damage taken. The Vikings turn around before they see the Prism. So ByuN is going to be even more out of position than he needed to be. He probably could have dealt with this just right then and there, and he misses his chance, misses his opportunity. A little bit of a shame as our bio turns back through. 2 more Zealots go down. 12 SCVs get killed. And once more, we're going to head back around onto the map here as ByuN gathers together. Medivacs join up. Zealots get picked off. +3 attack, +1 armor, all coming through here from MaxPax. As our army of MaxPax continues through the center still, we go around the left side. Well, Zealot's going to get knocked down as well. ByuN actually trying to fight this, but 3 Colossi plus Disruptors. Going to be extremely tough to break through that, and I think ByuN's realizing it's maybe not happening. He's going to start bringing the other army back around. Maybe if he can find like a really good surrounding fight. Maybe then there'll be a little bit of hope, but I'm not really holding my breath or anything. I feel like we're asking for a lot for ByuN to turn this around. This army of MaxPax is just getting to be too good. This, the economy of ByuN has been absolutely drained for so freaking long, and now you're really starting to see the effects of that as another Disruptor shot finds a few Marines. The Colossi just sit in the back dealing so much damage. 16 kills on one, there was 11 on another, 10 on the final one. They've just been doing so much from the backfield. We're going to try and dive for them here, but there's just too much MaxPax, and he's going to open up this series with a map victory. MaxPax will open up with 1 map lead. As we're going to have up one game. In the bottom right-hand corner, our blue Protoss player from Storm Gaming. It is MaxPax. No stranger to being behind today. Came from 0-2 behind in his first series that we saw of him. Our Red Terran player, Shopify, Rebellion's ByuN. Game number 2 of this one then. I gotta say, I feel like MaxPax put himself in a great position. ByuN did not really deal well initially with all those zealots, but boy, did ByuN put up a good fight after he was very dead, honestly. Like, kind of felt like ByuN was at the point where you sort of just roll over and die as a Terran player. You just, screech into the StarCraft posts like, Protoss, But ByuN stood up and he really made a pretty solid set of attacks to give him a good opportunity of coming back into the game. This is Death Over, guys. This is ByuN Engineering Bay blocks for the second time in the series as well. Just to explain that basically the way the map pool works for OSC events, this is the OSC Mid Season Playoffs, the way the map pool works is that there are 7 ladder maps plus 3 maps that get voted in by players and others involved with OSC. And they will be played for like a single season of OSC. This season it was Death Aura, Jagannatha, and Lightshade. And there's already some others that are set up for the next season of OSC as well, which will be starting up, I'm pretty sure, just is after this tournament, which is obviously very cool as well. So, yeah. And it's fun to kind of see some of these old maps used a little bit, and honestly, the players, if they wanted to, could absolutely just veto these maps away. Right, like in a best of 5, they could just veto all the old maps very easily, and they don't. That's what I think is really cool about it. To me, this is a great advocation of why we should have like a 9-map map pool just in general for a little bit more variety and a little bit more veto potential and so on. I think it'd be really freaking cool. I think it'd be really freaking cool for StarCraft. I know we've used 7 maps the longest of times. It makes sense because our largest series is a best of 7 and stuff that we play in the finals, but I really feel like we're getting to a point as well where we see, especially in like best of 3s, the same maps very repeatedly, even in different matchups, because those are like the standard maps where it's very hard for one side to really be favored over the other. I don't know. I never used to be a fan of the idea of 9-map map pools, but seeing it in OSC, kind of, these maps get picked a lot, and then just kind of seeing StarCraft develop lately, I've kind of turned into a little bit more of a fan of it. MaxPax going to play the aggressive 3-gate this game, so no tech from him. If ByuN can hold this off successfully, he ends up in a pretty good position because MaxPax is going to be extremely limited and extremely late on his tech choices. So that's generally kind of then the goal. ByuN is basically looking to say, right, let's survive. And MaxPax is saying, let's get some damage done. 2 batteries on the way up as he looks to defend against this Hellion build again. Because this time the batteries are not ready though. First probe going down. The probes stack a little bit there. That's 4 workers. ByuN realizes he can get more. 6 go down. It's going to clean up pretty much everything on this mineral line. They stack up once more. These probes are making it easy for ByuN. 8 workers killed. That will be it as the battery is finally done. But even worse, now you've built batteries and you took the damage anyway. So MaxPax is in a really rough start. ByuN's scouting here is impeccable as well. He'll notice A, there's no units over this side, and B, there's no tech around. So ByuN's going to have a pretty good idea that MaxPax is being aggressive as well. But this attack has also taken MaxPax's attention, so it's then going to be coming a little bit late, giving ByuN more preparation time. I don't know if he gets the bunker up, but he will be well on the way to that siege tank. And as that pops out, there's no high ground vision here for MaxPax to just stop ByuN from camping a tank on this high ground and just completely defending this, no? I mean, Sorks could obviously run up as the tank for the moment is actually just going to walk down, doesn't even try and get sieged. Going to siege up now, which I personally feel is maybe a little close for comfort, but works out. 4 SCVs do fall. ByuN looking as though he's calculated this pretty well defensively. Obviously, 4 SCVs going down. It's kind of fun when he killed so many probes with the Hellions, and especially when MaxPax is so committed to this. I can't stress enough how important it is that MaxPax has no tech behind this. Like, this is a very difficult position to fight out of as MaxPax. You're going to have an extremely late blink, and the moment the Terran player has stim and just a decent amount of bio units, you're going to be in a ton of trouble as a Protoss player here. Like, this needed to get more damage done than what it's done so far. And now with the bunker up, I do not see you getting too much more done. You might even break through this bunker, but it's going to cost you a lot. Sentry goes down. The force field was really good to block the SCVs, but even then the SCVs get around. They get there. 2 Stalkers go down as well. And ByuN is looking as though he's got this on the defense, as he's just going to have himself pushing forward and even just bringing his tank through as well. He knows that MaxPax does not have enough stuff to work with right now. MaxPax, though, gets another warp in. It's pretty brazen play from ByuN. Like, he is not being afraid of anything. He gets the tank sieged up here. If he targets the low HP Stalkers, it's a good pick-off. He gets 2 more. And that's why ByuN is so far forward. It's high risk, but it's high reward if you play it correctly. Again, those extra Stalker kills definitely adding up big time in his favor. Boy, is ByuN going to be happy with that, I imagine. Still feel like the first tank could have just been set up here, though. Like, there was no high ground vision. I think ByuN should have known that. I really feel like the first tank didn't have any need to be set up on the low ground like it was. I think initially he was like, oh, I'm going to come down just like A-click with it and just get single target damage. But then I actually think it would have just been perfect to just be high ground sieged up. I don't see why he wouldn't have put it there, honestly, but yeah, I don't know. That was a little bit the one oddity I found in all of that. I could understand the idea of, again, like the single target damage initially, but like I said, I feel like the position was just so good that he could have utilized. As ByuN will scan, spotting the robo facility, so he just got eyes on the first tech choice of his opponent. It's obviously good to know about, as a hallucination pops. And he's going to begin to head across the map. The Marines in the tank, chasing a few Stalkers back down to the low ground as well. Just going to deny this gateway. Obviously deny some of the potential follow-up here, as our blink is about to be finished up, so not far from seeing our Stalkers be that much more effective than what they were previously, so that at least is not far from being the case. There's a few Marines continue through this gateway over here that will get dropped down. Stalkers blink up to the high ground coming through. They will maybe be able to get deeper in the corner, but the Bio is quick to respond. 2 Stalkers go down before we begin to have blink available to blink away. As the Marines come through, Stalker gets pushed back. Tank will siege. Just going to be seeing our +1 attack, combat shield, concussive shells, all still on the way up. Bringing all of this out and into play for the moment. Once those upgrades are finished here from ByuN, I really feel as though MaxPax is going to have a pretty bad time. I cannot see this, going well for MaxPax at that point. As this Bio Force again turns around a little bit, these Stalkers start to head toward the natural expansion. Not much to be found just there, as we see our +1 attack upgrade, our combat shield, all continuing out as well. Stalkers just blinking about 2 as the Bio Force starts to go through the center. Stalkers come over to the left-hand side, are going to grab an SCV already. He's just going to nab that straight away. And the CC will get cancelled. So now ByuN's a little bit more committed coming across this direction. Well, how much does he care? I suppose the question. Colossus definitely helps. Definitely going to give you a little bit of hope here as MaxPax initially. Tanks will siege, though. This feels very difficult still as, well, it's going to be a nice little gift. 2 medevacs to go down to these Stalkers. The rest of the Bio just stimming across. I thought it was just going to come straight across the map. In the end, it did turn into these Stalkers, and he will pick off all 4 of them. Now we're in range of the robo facility. That's obviously not good. He obviously knew this was here from the scan earlier as well. So now we're playing with only a single Colossus. That generally isn't enough splash damage to make this work, I don't think, but let's see if we can be surprised. As our tank is obviously doing a lot, and actually ByuN has units on the high ground as well, so he's just going to bring these down from the other direction. MaxPax can admit when he's dead. That is for sure. He doesn't stick around these games all the time. And ByuN is going to find himself game 2 of this series. We're tied up 1 apiece. Not very active the last couple of weeks. Obviously, I was in First of all, I had a little weekend away planned, and then we had Gamers 8 come about. And then straight after Gamers 8, I was only home for 2 days before it was Demu's wedding. Oh, sorry, Demu's wedding. And so I was just super tired from traveling, honestly, so I didn't stream the 2 days in between. Decided to take it all off, and now we are on the grind. We've got so much StarCraft coming up. Very, very exciting. MaxPax bottom right, ByuN upper left. Dragon Scales for Game 3, maybe one of the more aggressive maps we have in this map pool. With the shortness of the map. Definitely some of the positions you can get set up in. Let's see what kind of builds we see, as ByuN has been Engineering Bay blocking every game so far, both Well, game 1 and game 2 have been an engineering bay block into the 4 Hellions off the reacted factory. Let's see if he wants to do anything different here this time around. SCV is going to come wandering across. And he's going to drop down that engineering bay in the front, so no surprises, kind of just what we saw in the previous games. Both times, MaxPax has built the third on, well, they built an expansion on the third location. So it looks as though this is going to be no different here. Just goes straight across there. ByuN is going to position his SCV here, but the expansion is going to come down to the south instead anyway, so he's not going to quite spot that. And this SCV will come over just to check there is indeed an expansion coming down, and just guarantee you're not being some kind of one base all in. So he sees it, he knows he can then cancel the engineering bay because it's not just going to be a delayed expansion on the natural location. And yeah, ByuN just sticking to what he's done all the way throughout so far. I feel like a full probe pull would be better versus eBay block. It really depends on when you see it, right? If you see the eBay block soon enough, then pulling probes is generally seen as the better option. But if you don't see it until your probe comes down to build the expansion, then if you pull the probes, you also have to start spending your money elsewhere, which you've not really set up to do, and so on. So at that point, you know, if you just decide to take the third instead, it just undoes a lot of the other issues that you kind of cause by trying to deal with it otherwise, right? It does depend. Like I say, if you see it early enough, pulling the probes can be pretty reasonable as a response. Make sure there's not too much HP on the engineering bay and so on. You start to respond early enough that you can change the build a little bit and make some adjustments. So yeah, it really just comes down to the timing of it all. This time, ByuN builds the Hellions, but he's going to actually proxy the starport, which is a big difference. We have not seen the starport early in the previous games, so ByuN mixing it up. If he can get across the map with these Hellions, this actually might catch MaxPax very off guard, because MaxPax has been ready to deal with the Hellions running into his bases. Not so much dealing with the Hellions getting picked up into a medevac and dropped into his base. I think MaxPax knows right now, because that was an odd direction for the Hellions to be running. Although, maybe not. Maybe he just thought he was scouting over there. The Adepts out on the map. We're going to have one Phoenix available, so Hellions are going to have one-shot potential even with the Phoenix lift as we get into the main base. 3 workers already, and we are going to have there the lift, but that doesn't really do anything if you don't have anything there to kill the Hellion. I actually don't like that we lift there. I feel like that's actually a real waste of the lift. Now we're back to 4 Hellions, and 12 probes have already gone down. 13 probes. Honestly, this is needing to do some damage because it's a later expansion from ByuN, but this is fantastic. As the Adepts do shade and finish off 1 Hellion at least. The Phoenix are chasing, but with no energy available. Yes, the Hellions won't do much over here, but they can drain some battery energy. Battery energy is still an expense, right? As actually we will be able to get a probe. Maybe make it one more. Thank you very much. When you hit 4 probes at once, the battery can't heal up all of them at the same time, right? So eventually those probes don't get healed soon enough, and they take a bit more damage, and things just kind of add up. And that's exactly what we saw there. 15 probes killed. Massively successful attack. And I thought MaxPax might have kind of caught on to the fact that ByuN was proxying because of the direction the Hellions went in as the Zealots spotted them, but he didn't quite realize. Not sure what difference it would have made, because he was already not going to be in the main base in time. He would have been a little faster to the main base with the Adepts. Probably still would have taken a pretty decent chunk of damage. Maybe not quite as much, though. That's going to be MaxPax taking some heavy hits early. His economy is going to be really, held back. Only the same work account as a Terran player who will have double mule on his side is not exactly brilliant. Phoenix just moving around, just going to be seeing our Stim, Cyclone, Marines all coming up. The Robo Bay building from MaxPax as well. That's on the way over here, as Phoenix are just going to keep an eye on any Terran move-outs, including this Cyclone, but the Marines are there to stop the lift-off from being too successful. Otherwise, that would have been a bit of a pain in the booty. Losing a Cyclone super quick is not exactly something you want, because it really is a nice little supporting cast against these Phoenix. Now, we do lose the Cyclone there, but we're going to kill a Phoenix in return, and I think that's a trade you take as ByuN. Phoenix count being lowered is almost always going to be a good thing. because those Phoenix really work very well in numbers, and the Phoenix numbers are something you want throughout the game. The Cyclones are something you kind of want right now, but you don't really care about as much in the future, right? So definitely don't mind losing a Cyclone to kill a Phoenix off. So I think we take that trade most of the time. Now we're actually going to get a second Phoenix as well. Scans to make sure he has the vision. He realized he was maybe going to run out of reach of that just a little bit, so recognizing it, fixing it. Now we've got ourselves Cyclones Marines into the main. Cyclones getting a couple of lock-ons. You see how Phoenix taking some damage. You're going to turn it around. Stalk taking some shots as well. It's going to be seeing a couple of Cyclones getting lifted off. The Phoenix still taking some hits. Super Battery activating to do what it can. Honestly, a lot of units lost here from MaxPax, and that's kind of expected, right? He's going to hold, but at a pretty big expense. And that's mostly because of the fact, well, yeah, he lost a lot of probes early, so defending was always going to be difficult. And the thing is, this was a defense, but it was also a defense on 2 bases. He doesn't have that booming 3-base economy setup kind of behind this to kind of be like, okay, well, now I'm going to probe up of 3 bases and be cool. He's really not in that position at all. 4 Phoenix on the map, 2 Immortals. It's just not an army. Like, the Phoenix count has been really heavily hit as well, with 4 of them going down. MaxPax is not having the prettiest of game number 3s at the moment. It's ByuN. Already has Stim, Marauders and Marines setting up to maybe continue across the map. We'll see if that's something perhaps MaxPax could take some amount of advantage over. Still hanging around here. A few Marines get some shots off. The Phoenix get pushed over the sides as our Bioforce continues through. A couple of Mortals and the Colossus just chilling out there. ByuN comes back around the right, and we again see those few Phoenix just going to have to stay peeled away for a couple of moments longer. +1 attack on the way up because of shells is about to complete. Cancel up on that low ground there and get a tech lab going instead of a reactor. So a little bit of an adjustment to the build-up, or the building setup that ByuN wants to work with throughout this mid-game. After a lot of kind of chasing around early game and ByuN attacking and being aggressive throughout, ByuN's still kind of on the map, but he's not finding much of a chance to fight. The Phoenix spotting these medevacs here, and MaxPax keeping pretty good vision and control over the extremities of his base, just guaranteeing that ByuN can't find a way in for even more damage. It's the last thing you want to have happen right now as MaxPax is for ByuN to get in and get even more done than what he's already been able to achieve. Wants to come over, knock down the Zealot. The Bio Army. He's around the left-hand side, little probe patrolling of MaxPax. Out down on the south, a few ghosts coming up, our armor upgrade coming in, army being produced as well. Do just take a few moments. As our Colossi and Immortals sit out the front. ByuN's going to kind of come in from a couple different sides. Start attacking it on this left. The right side army's not making a move just yet. MaxPax with a very minimal split. Kind of hard to believe that single Colossus is going to survive through this. Spoilers, it does not. Robo Facility, Super Battery, not enough. Next Colossus denied, so some pretty serious damage. A few probes going down amongst this, but I think the Colossus and the Robo denial is the biggest part of it. New Robo has to build up here. MaxPax didn't have another one set up already because it's just not that stage of the game where you go double Robo yet, so it makes sense that he's now knocked down to 0. And still kind of playing pretty patiently here, right? Sitting with 2 just kind of split up armies, one a little bit larger than the other, and just waiting for his opportunity, waiting for his chance to shine over the next few moments. Gonna find one probe here as the Ghost comes in for an extra little shot. Phoenix coming back around over to the right. Again, they will continue to try and see just what they can achieve. So Zealots, probes, etc. all join up. A few Ghosts come through, and they're going to line up a little snipey snipe on a couple of these Zealots as well. We're going to knock down one more. We're going to clean up the Zealots now. It's going to be a nice little shutdown. Army comes around the left as our Archon Colossus +2 attack. All this continues out into play. We are going to get a 4th base out in the front as well. It's a lot of tech units in this Protoss 4, so near a battery, I think that's what ByuN is kind of afraid of right now. But if he tries to make a too sudden a move, it might be something the Protoss can just about maneuver into, and a defense basically. So I'm just being a little bit cautious, being a little bit careful. Drops an EMP on a few of those zealots. Fire's going to actually stem up into the natural expansion, deciding to make a move over here. He is going to commit, got 1 EMP off on those Archons. If he had an extra Ghost or 2 in that right side army, I actually think he would have been absolutely golden. I actually think if he hit the EMP a couple more times and clean up the rest of the Archons, he would have been very okay. Just now realized, I think, that this 4th base is here as well, so he's been kind of thinking maybe I'm denying the base on this side, but not actually the case at the end, so that's a little bit painful as well. Now you realize that this base is actually coming up, and it's kind of more of an issue than you thought. Gun supply is still good, though, and his army count is still decent. His worker count is very good for TvP, comparatively to the Protoss players. ByuN just starting up a handful of Vikings. Starting to really kind of respect the Colossus count a little bit, as he is going to be maxing out shortly. See if he takes any fights towards being maxed out, or if he's going to be just sort of settling down away from that. Kind of just looking for other things throughout the course of this. I don't know. I mean, as he maxes, you kind of think, well, why not just go and fight if you've had the advantage throughout the game? But if he's starting to build up Vikings now, he might want to take some smaller fights, trade out. As he loses a couple of ByuN units here and there, then maybe you replace with better units and, with more Vikings, etc. It's obviously a great catch. 2 Archons, chunk of Zealots, all freebies. Absolutely pick up on those as we do clash a little bit. Disruptor shot fires. The EMPs already came down to soften up this Protoss army. You can tell that ByuN believes he has a chance to fight. He is not going to slow down against that. He is just going to commit through a little, chasing that Protoss force away. The Disruptor is obviously great at stopping the kind of continued chase, forcing the Terran to stop and back away for just a second, just to make sure the units don't all blow up. Upgrade rise as well. ByuN's about to have a 2 armor upgrade lead over his opponent. Has generally been leading in this game as well. Once again, just finds another stim towards the natural, but there's actually a lot of Zealots here. The Phoenix is going to mean you can't actually kind of lift up and get out with the Medivacs as we actually go dive in on the Disruptors. We lose all the bio, but we kill every Disruptor. That was a very expensive trade for ByuN. He lost a lot. His supply just plummeted massively. That was a really bad dive to the natural. Those Zealots are absolute MVPs of MaxPax, because they just stopped ByuN from entering that position, and that really did make the difference there. Now MaxPax is on the counter-attack, and he realizes that ByuN just lost a lot. This might be the opportunity he's been waiting for, sitting back, defending patiently. Now maybe he has the chance to capitalize on a ByuN mistake. He's going to try it from a little bit of a different angle from the right side now, compared to the left. Because TMP is going down, ByuN still has plenty of EMPs. The Phoenix is going to have no shields left on them, so they will not last long against the Vikings, and the Vikings have freer opportunities to just jump onto the Colossi too, so definitely problems across the board that we're kind of looking at here. Vikings getting a few more shots off. The Bioforce still coming forward. Going back onto a supply lead in the game. We recall home from MaxPax. I'm not sure what he saw or what he expected, but I feel like he's expecting ByuN to almost just be dropping him. ByuN actually doesn't have anything set up. It's a very weird choice for MaxPax to recall like that. He could have just walked home. He had no reason to recall over just kind of walking back, other than the fact that now you spend your recall energy and your recalls on cooldown in case you do need, get into a position where you need the recall. So it just takes options away from you, because now MaxPax probably can't get into position as much as he might have originally wanted to. Because now if you have recall, you might still be on the map and making another poke. Instead, now you maybe have to play that a little bit more passively, right? So, a little intriguing over here. Vikings around the left side. A couple of Marauders shooting and flaming at a couple of Stalkers. Still coming up. We're going to be seeing more army coming down the right side of the map. Aiming for this Nexus. We're just going to start picking this off. EMPs, which isn't really necessary. Obviously, it's not going to be a recall position because the recall's on cooldown. Although ByuN might not actually know about recall being on cooldown, because it was kind of a weird time to recall before. ByuN wasn't even in range, right? Oh, going to lose the +3 attack, though. ByuN finding the Forge in the main, and now he's attacking this left side, too. Got to be careful about these Disruptors. The Vikings are lurking to try and find a Colossus. They are about to find them, and they just then backed away. On the main base, ByuN was still doing decently, but a few more units showing up. It's going to be enough to push ByuN back for the moment, so ByuN will have to settle for something a little bit more chill. He's building Liberators, which is obviously a great tech up in this game as well against a Protoss that's maybe not really set to deal with Libs. They're going to be very difficult to fight against if a good few of them come up. And a lot of the positions that MaxPax would want to defend are generally accessed by like a single choke point, which obviously when you're playing with Liberators, those Libs can siege up those choke points and they can do very well against those choke points very quickly. So I have to imagine that that would be a little bit of a factor as well. Shot comes around, a few Stalkers going after a few of those Vikings. Vikings taking a few more hits and definitely not surviving through this, it doesn't seem. They're going to try and get one Colossus. One more shot. He got it. As the Viking falls, he knocks a Colossus out of the sky. And as ByuN is going to lose the last few units in this bottom corner, he's already setting up the attack on the right side. He's got this army moving around. He actually doesn't lose these units either. Yeah, he's got this army moving around the right side. He knows just where MaxPax is at. He knows MaxPax is not set up to deal with armies in multiple places. MaxPax is going to try and pull back around, but the Disruptors thought about it. They didn't even think it was worth firing a warning shot. They just give up on that idea immediately. Medevac's load up. Big boost into the main base about to happen. Couple Liberator shots there. Going to hit these Stalkers a little bit. Bio coming through. Couple more Stalkers going down. Stalkers grab one Liberator already, and now the Bio just going to go after all of these gateways. Libs will siege up the ramp. And the Disruptor probably not going to see... Oh, okay, actually does survive. But now you're losing all of your production, and this is where ByuN is going to force MaxPax to take some fights he might not want to take. ByuN's just going to stand here and fight. He lifts up last second against the Disruptors. He loses the full medevac there to the Stalker Blink. Again, just a little overcommitment maybe from ByuN, but to be honest, it kind of is still fine for him. He's still massively ahead on the supplies. And look at the upgrades as well. He's an attack upgrade ahead, and he's about to be 3 armor upgrades ahead. The upgrades for ByuN are just bonkers, and they're going to allow him to trade so very well throughout the latter stages of this game. As though ByuN may actually be in the lead of a series for once today, without actually just straight up winning it. Obviously, he never led the series against Dark until he won, and he was down a game in this series too. Going to go up 2-1 right now. At the tail end of Dragon Scales. Archon's going to kind of just get caught. No EMP for ByuN, but he doesn't really need it when he's got that much bio against, well, just a couple of Archons out wandering around. ByuN going to try and drag the Protoss army over here a little bit, running down to the south, and that will give the rest of his army maybe a chance to rotate into a position in the near future. MaxPax is actually getting a counterattack, which is nice. He's obviously been very caught up and very busy in this game, so finally get an opportunity to even get Zealots across the map is impressive. It may not do a lot, but the idea is good. You got to start putting some pressure on ByuN, otherwise he just continues to control his game. If there's one player you don't want to really let play that game, ByuN is kind of that guy. He plays fast, he plays aggressive, and when he gets to play what he wants to play, he is going to be all over you. And defending successfully against a ByuN that has momentum on his side and kind of feels invincible, I feel like that's an almost impossible task that you're putting on yourself. This Nexus is almost a guaranteed cancel. Disruptor shot there, gets a few bio units. Here come the Zealots moving forward. The Liberator shots are good to knock a few of those down. Probes continue to drop. 8 workers going down. Turn around a little bit. A couple more Liberators getting set up as the Disruptor shots fire through, but they won't really land on anything meaningful at all. ByuN is on the left side. He's just losing units to like these Disruptor shots. He's just like, ah, well, I tried to kill a Disruptor. That's good enough, right? And I make another dive to the main base. And it's just so hard to stop this as MaxPax. Again, you don't have the units to be preemptively in position. As the Disruptors try to get here, the Libs are going to set up quite far back. No Disruptor shot is successful just yet. That's a lot of army coming in all at once, although we do drop the EMPs this time around too, so those Disruptors will drop more quickly when you do target them. And again, ByuN has pretty good upgrades as well, so even the Zealots really don't do as much as you might usually expect Zealots to do. ByuN getting out with half the bio units he dropped is kind of a statement on that right-hand side, as MaxPax is sub 100 supply, and it does not feel as though he has many more lives to hang on to here during the course of this game number 3. Pretty cool game though, considering the early game Hellions was so successful for ByuN. You might not have expected such a convincing game to have come out of MaxPax beyond that, but And it was a game where ByuN was always kind of in control, and there's been some dives and some moments where ByuN's army has taken some heavy dips and hasn't maybe always been great for him, but I think it's hard to say that there's been at least a large portion of this game where ByuN was really kind of on the back foot. MaxPax is going to type GG. He can't keep up with attack after attack. He can't keep up with the pressure from all sides. On the top left-hand side, looking to bounce back here in this lower bracket final. Obviously, top 3 guaranteed for these players to get to that finals. You know, obviously, top 2 guaranteed. We'll start down a map against Solar in the grand final, but, well, still not impossible. As in the top left, our Blue Protoss player is MaxPax from Storm Gaming. Bottom right, our Red Terran from the Shopify Rebellion, it is ByuN. Thank you, Lotusy, for the 9-month resub. Let's go, ByuN. SV comes around the left-hand side. Gateway, similar to all coming through. Barracks is beginning. We get this up and rolling as our little probing of MaxPax comes in to explore. Engineering bay block. Once again, we have just seen this throughout the game so far. ByuN has been engineering bay blocking every single time. Archer coming down from ByuN, as again, just as he sees the fact that this expansion comes down on the 3rd location, he just cancels up the engineering bay, so the early game kind of gets settled based on that. See if he comes back around the right-hand side. He's going to go back home. He's going to get the wonderful job of building the command center here on the natural expansion, so that command center will start up, get that underway. Starport building here on the side of MaxPax as well. Just getting that up in the main base, getting that on the way through. Hope just continuing across for a couple of moments and gonna drop down that pylon as well. Just gonna get that also on the way out. For the moment, a couple of Hellions coming through. The warp gate is building. Obviously, ByuN just getting that Hellion count going. He's done the same build pretty much every game. Obviously, a little switch up last time with the proxied starport, whereas this time he will go back toward that expansion, which was what he did game 1 and 2 as well. Very fun to see ByuN just kind of be so convinced that this is a decent build. I wonder if it's something about how MaxPax plays that ByuN just sort of likes this kind of build against, or feels like it gives him a good amount of control, or just a good enough pressure kind of early. It's definitely interesting to see, because ByuN is pretty creative with his builds, and yeah, sometimes when he finds a build that works, he sticks to it, but then the fact he's sticking to it, to me, says, hey, well, what is it that you're liking so much against MaxPax that you want to do this every time? Johnson will be finishing next few moments as the Hellions will make the dive onto the base. Battery does not protect from one-shots. That's the most important thing here, as 3 workers will go down. Not going to get too much else. That one Phoenix lift is important because it does take away the one-shot potential. That obviously makes a pretty big difference in general, as now the Phoenix will continue to chase. Another Hellion will go down, so only 3 probes. It does keep the Phoenix back. It does keep them kind of lower on energy, so maybe then again, it's kind of part of that builds into this Marine Cyclone success on the follow-up. Maybe that is part of the plan, part of the goal here in general that ByuN is aiming for. Hellion continues around the top as we do see a couple of the Phoenix and MaxPax make their way. Well, they were kind of heading down to the bottom right. They're going to turn back around for a couple of moments, but I can't imagine that's going to be a long-term thing or anything of the sorts. Second again, the lock on. The Hellion was used for vision for a little bit instead of having to scan, but in the end, the Cyclone was going to run out of range, not vision. So, didn't really come out to too much. Woohoo, that's fun. Combat shield first. There's going to be an aggressive push then on the side of ByuN. Combat Shield finishes faster than Stim, and overall is arguably, you know, when you're going to go for like a longer term fight, a little bit better than Stim, because instead of just having them 10 seconds where you've got to make your move, you now just have 10 HP extra on all your Marines. So your army is just that much bulkier, and it's much bulkier much earlier because of the speed of combat shields as well, so it can make for some scary Marine tank combos. And that seems like it might be the plan here from ByuN. If you can get across the map, get a tank set up in a good place, get those Marines to buffer a little bit better against the other ground units that MaxPax will typically have at that stage. It's going to be very interesting. Cyclone locking onto and helping to push back the Phoenix for a few more moments there. Combat Shields is about to be finished, and that is the timing for ByuN to start getting across this map. There's Colossus on the way, and typically if you get a Colossus out as a Pros, you probably feel pretty safe, but I would be kind of doubting myself right now if ByuN was marching at me, because he knows what you're playing. He's played against it 3 games in a row pretty much by now. Yes, there was the one Proxy Gate game that was a little different. Well, this guy comes down. ByuN looking to break a 5-series losing streak against MaxPax if he can win this match right here. If you can win this game. 2 tanks do get siege. We started to build up the turrets, but actually going to decide to build some bunkers here. As we do have the Colossus going to start pushing through those. The tanks take a moment to get sieged up. What are we going to hit with the tanks? Well, the Marine's going to have to drop down the Phoenix so that the tanks can get back on track. Missile turrets helping with this as the tanks get dropped down again. Honestly, when the tanks were in the sky, there was no damage output on them, so they weren't really in that much trouble. As you can see, the tank's going to unsiege. We have another tank showing up. Man, that Immortal only just survived, by the way. It was on the brink of death from the back of those couple tank shots, pulled back just about in time to avoid any others. This is going to pressure up onto the natural location where they will find 1 pylon to start out with, and well, just some probes available over here. There's no good way to engage onto these siege tanks. That's the issue, especially not with the missile turrets in place either. And so here we are, just these Marines just wander up. They kill 8 probes. Here we go. The Phoenix going to make the dive. This is where the missile turrets will come into play. The missile turrets is going to target down a Colossus. They're going to kill 1. They're looking for number 2. Now the Phoenix are going to get dropped as well, so the tanks are back on the ground, and this is what I mean. There's no damage output in the skies because there's not enough Phoenix. GG's, ByuN is just going to win it with this attack. A brutal position, great target firing throughout, and just making sure to make the absolute most of his units there. ByuN able to take the series 3-1 over MaxPax W.